Hey everyone, welcome back to Low Budget Logistics, your logistics and supply chain explainer. Today we're going to be talking about tracking, obviously, and really specifically what we're going to be talking about is parcel tracking. And when you look up your tracking number online, what that actually means. I won't be able to give you all of the details because tracking updates themselves are complex and complicated, and in a lot of ways, you're not seeing the full information, and there's a lot of kind of snooping and sort of guesswork, detective work that we have to do as logistics professionals to understand what any of it means. So we'll kind of start off on that, and I'll explain sort of why I'm talking about this. So I guess the why is my wife got a package yesterday, and the tracking updates did not make sense. And it was difficult even for me, and literally I've been looking at parcel tracking numbers and shipment updates for like years of my life. And so I've seen every carrier's tracking system. I know what they all look like, and I know how to sort of read between the lines. And even with this package, it was extremely difficult. And then sort of had to understand in the order information what was actually going on. So kind of broadly what happened is that her order shipped in two different packages. One got delivered yesterday, obviously, and the other one was actually back ordered, but it looked like both items shipped at the same time. So that can happen. It's weird when it does. Typically that means that it's coming from two different warehouses, two different fulfillment locations, and they will have two individual tracking numbers. That happens, right? So say like you've ordered something from someone online, they don't have it all in stock in one location, so they're going to source from somewhere else, and they're going to ship both of those things to you. Typically, we hate that. We supply chain professionals hate that because it's extremely expensive to ship two different things. You'd rather ship them all in the same package. We'll get to that in a different time. But what was weird is that it showed for all of these shipments, for all of the items, they all got delivered under the same tracking number, which is weird, and sort of we'll get into that. So I guess we should start by saying tracking numbers are an individual and unique identifier for your specific package, right? For your order, your shipment. Each carrier has their own tracking number system. They have their own tracking number identification. And if you've seen enough of them, then you'll know, oh, this is, this carrier's tracking number. So like UPS, typically they always start with like a 1Z, and then they have a set of numbers after that. If you know how to decode UPS tracking numbers, you'll see you can see a bunch of detail in there. There's UPSs are by far the most detailed tracking numbers just on the kind of surface. FedEx has a series of 3 blocks of 4 numbers each. Theirs are a bit more confusing as far as how they work, but FedEx Ground and FedEx Express, which are 2 different companies, which is a weird thing, they both have the same numbering system. Smaller companies, On Track, LaserShip, they might have different ones, or they definitely have different ones. I won't get too much into them, but the post office, which you'll probably see a lot of, the post office has 26 digits. It's a huge tracking number because the post office is shipping a lot of stuff all the time. And actually not everything that the post office ships gets a tracking number, which is wild because if you send a postcard, it doesn't have a tracking number. There's how you can know, and each one is unique to your specific shipment. They typically don't repeat, or rather they do repeat, they just don't repeat often, and that's sort of important to know. They can repeat themselves, but it takes several years before they'll actually repeat. What is actually happening on that? So I put this guy up there because it looks like a barcode, because that's what we do everything in the supply chain is barcodes, which is hexadecimal. It's a big deal. It doesn't really matter. You're using barcodes. And so what is physically happening is that someone is scanning it, right? So similar to a grocery store where your items are being run through a checkout line, and a barcode scanner is scanning that package to know oh, this is how much to charge for this item. It's happening in the supply chain as well. So there's a bunch of different types of scanners, some that are actually just on a line that has for lack of a better term, a treadmill that's moving packages through it, and it's scanning sort of all the time, and as things go through, they get scans applied. And what it's saying is, hey, this thing is here. That's all that it's saying. And then the system is actually able to go, oh, this has been processed into a facility or processed out of a facility, or it's put onto this truck or onto this plane or onto wherever. All that it's saying is, hey, this thing was here. Now, sometimes things get a little funky because that's not always the case. Some of your tracking updates will actually be what are called logical scans, where they'll say, hey, we physically put this package onto this plane. That plane arrived at this location. So because of that, we're going to take this scan, this arrival scan, and we'll put a shit down to everything that we put onto that plane. Again, it's called logical because it's simply a logical scan saying, hey, it makes sense that this thing happened this way. Sometimes that can get confusing, and people in the supply chain will know, oh, I need to ask whether that's a physical scan or a logical scan, because the two are very different. And that's why sometimes you can see the same tracking update come through twice, because one is a physical scan, or one is a logical scan, and one is a physical scan. So things happen. Sometimes your package didn't actually get put on that plane, and so that causes some confusion. But as far as confusion is concerned, most of the tracking updates, the scans that are actually being applied to those packages, you'll never see, because they are extremely confusing. And unless you know how a parcel carrier's network actually works, you'll never see them, because it's confusing, like I said. So in the case of like UPS, FedEx, USPS, they scan your package thousands of times. They scan coming off a truck, coming onto a truck, going into a station, going out of a station, onto and off of a ramp. There's lots of different things that come in, and they actually suppress a lot of that stuff, and they'll say, all of these types of messages, these, we'll say 30, they all mean this same one thing, that arrival, right? It'll say, hey, everything in there, if it gets hits one of these numbers, boop, it just means it arrived at this location. And that's it. That's all that you'll ever see when you run your tracking online. It makes it nice and simple for you, for sort of the layman. But it's a way to hide stuff and hide things from happening. And so that's why things get a little funky. And even for me, oftentimes I'll have to actually pull the tracking number, and I will tell a sales rep, hey, this does not make sense. You need to go into your back-end system and you need to tell me what's actually happening with this package, because I know that you're suppressing a bunch of scans, and I need you to see what's actually going on with this package. So when would I do that, right? So that would be someone reaching out to customer service, who's just a great friend of the logistician. A customer will reach out to customer service, and then customer service will say, hey, let me give this order over to Matt, and let's see what's going on. And so then I will go and look up that scan and see what's actually going on. And if it does not make sense to me, then I will go to a carrier, and I'll have that sort of discussion. So if you reach out to customer service, just know, like, there's several steps that are happening, and there's lots of details that are getting sorted out, especially as like stuff gets lost or misplaced or things happen. So that is all, like, tracking is such a huge deal. It's fantastic. It gives you as the customer a lot of information about what's happening and when to expect a package. But it can be confusing. And so carriers know that they suppress a bunch of stuff, but in that suppression, it can make things even more confusing, especially as things, don't go right. So we kind of talked about what they are, why they exist, what is actually happening. And yeah, they're fun. It's a whole new world for you. It's just a peek behind the curtain of what actually goes on and what we deal with all the time, every day. I've spent years of my life just looking at tracking information. So all that being said, thank you so much for watching today. We're running out of time. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was informational. If you want me to talk more about something like this, please let me know in the comments below. Other than that, I hope you have a fantastic day. Please like and subscribe to the video to help support the channel. And if there's, like I said, if there's anything that you want me to talk about, please let me know in the comments. If it's good enough, it'll be part of a Q&A. If it's really good enough, then I will make it its own video. So again, thanks so much for watching, and I hope you have a fantastic day.